And I know it's been a very long day with a lot of information. And I know that it's been a great time for all of us to learn more about media and how to use it for the gospel. So we'll just wait patiently for Kayla. Whoop, there she is.
Oh my gosh, this is such a fun experience.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Good, good. Thanks everyone so much for your patience. You guys were talking about a learning curve. We're experiencing one ourselves, so you're not alone.
Yeah, good. Don't feel alone.
Don't feel alone. Don't feel alone. All right, let me go ahead and pull up. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This all has come together, like I told you guys, in like a little over a week. And you know what, I realized when I put this together that we had an amazing list of speakers and topics to really talk about. But something that I realized sadly at the last minute was that we needed some representation with elders. I really wanted to hear more from the perspective of those who really are shepherding our churches, and really just kind of be able to hear from the Brushes, especially since they lead the church they shepherd the church along with the other elders in Broward Church in Broward, Florida, with Tony and Cassandra Fernandez and the rest of the team that you guys have met to this point. And so what I'd like to do is this is going to be very like interview style. And what I've encouraged the Brushes is to be as honest as possible. And they are, I know that they will, and they really share the good stuff, the juicy stuff that we all want to hear about, right? So within reason. So let's go ahead and get this started. So John and Pat, if you guys can just briefly introduce yourselves. I know we're a little short on time already, but if you can just briefly introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Sure. As you know, my name is John Brush, and I serve as an elder here in Broward County, along with 4 other elders. I've been an elder since 1999, but have been in the ministry for 40 years, and was baptized back when I was in college in the early 1970s. So I've been around a long time and seen a lot of things in the church.
And I'm Pat, and I'm married to John. Therefore, I'm an elder's wife, and I love that. I was baptized as a college student 45 years ago, and I work in the ministry full time, and I support the women's ministry.
Awesome. So the first question I really want to ask, do you mind turning down your volume a bit on your computer?
Okay.
Yep, I'm just getting some feedback.
Okay, well, okay, gotcha.
Oh, thank you. So if you can start off by just talking about how you guys came to the decision to hire Tony and Cassandra to lead the Broward Church, because just some context, they are some of our younger and youngest lead evangelists and evangelists just within the world within our fellowship. And so I'd love a little context as to how you guys came to that decision.
Okay. Well, Tony was hired and led our teams in our campus for several years. And so we had a relationship with him. We knew him, even though he was very young. But in 2017, our evangelist, Marcus Overstreet, decided that he wanted to go lead a church in Scotland to help lead a small church, a mission church. And we were looking for someone to replace Marcus. And I can always remember the phrase that he used when he was talking to us and the elders was that he recommended Tony because Tony wasn't just the future, he is our now. And how we needed him and what he brought to our church at that time.
Mhm. And, Tony, at the time, he was 27 years old. We have a congregation of over 450 people and a load of mature people, 20 years, 30 years as a disciple. And so we thought, well, it was a little bit of a risk, but after knowing him and seeing he and Cassandra work together with our leadership team, it was a risk we knew we wanted to take and we felt like we needed to take.
And it was based on that relationship and willingness to take a chance or take the risk, knowing that we needed to reach that age group of people here in our county and in our area, because this area has a lot of people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, and we hadn't reached them like we wanted to. And so here was God was presenting us this opportunity of someone who was 27, his wife 26, almost 27, but we also knew their convictions, we knew their dedication to discipleship, his scholarly approach, to being a Christian, and he had built trust, and so that's why we decided to do it. It wasn't somebody that we just didn't know anybody about, but we knew that even though he was young, that we could all work together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you guys in the comments, if you guys ever get the pleasure of visiting the Broward Church in Davie, Florida, you might be shocked to see that it's a bunch of young folks just running things over there. And so I know when I visited, I was just shocked and I was surprised. It was really something different that I hadn't seen in a lot of other churches. And so it was really cool. And so that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, after hiring Tony and Cassandra, what was the process of you and the eldership and staff buying into his vision? I kind of want to hear about what obstacles or objections you might have had to overcome. So that's my question.
Well, no, that's a great question because, Pat and I were, and other people our age group, I would say, were technologically challenged. We didn't understand how things were going on the internet. I mean, for us, you used Facebook to maybe see your grandkids' pictures and send some emails, but I don't think we realized just how many people were online at the time. And so Tony took the time to communicate this with us as the leadership group, that he showed us how many people were online, how that for his age group, that's how they shopped, they researched, they read, they made decisions. And of course, that wasn't our experience, but we kept asking questions, and Tony would suggest things that I guess he saw that maybe we would have this little pause. So he consistently and patiently explained things to us, and we listened to it, and we really tried to understand, even though we didn't completely understand. We weren't on Instagram, we weren't on all these things. He explained it to us.
Yeah, and he explained it to the whole staff, really, us included. And it really, as we talked more about it, and we started realizing, we're gonna have to divert some resources into this, and what does that mean? And so it really made me start kind of exploring the concerns that I had about using the internet, like, are we going to be using just this worldly tool to attract people to the church? And it's just the latest and greatest superficial thing that people are into here today, tomorrow, and we're going to invest in this, and then what will we have? Are we going to use this as, I see people sitting around looking at their devices, staring at their screen. Is this just a way to let people be lazy and not really engage in the real work of the ministry? I mean, these are some of the kind of places that I went, and you know, is it just a gimmick that we're buying into here? And kind of when one of the things first things that we bumped into about this was redesigning our website and rebranding. I'm thinking rebranding, like Jesus is our brand. Why do we need to rebrand? And so we're going to redesign our website. And my thought about the website is it's sort of like one-stop shopping. Like when you look at the website, it should tell you everything you need to know about what our church believes, what we believe, what we don't believe, what we do, what we don't do, right there. And so this new design was very different. It was very attractive. It was very nice. It was very appealing. But I thought, well, yeah, nice graphics aren't going to save people. What is this all about? And so we had a discussion about it, again, with our staff. And one of the things that was brought up that Tony mentioned is that the website is like an invitation. So there's people coming to us and we're inviting them. And that made so much sense to me, because really with an invitation, we want people to come and see, to come and see us, to come and be with us. And that's really what the website can do. And so we have our core beliefs on there. We also have a what to expect when you're coming for the first time, but the approach is much more like an invitation and not a deep dive into our church doctrine.
What is your experience with our, understanding of the media? And Tony patiently explained, and the good thing about it, he didn't just explain it to the leadership, he also explained it to the membership on some Wednesday nights, and took questions and took concerns and helped people see exactly what was going on. And it's like anything else. Some of them didn't understand until after they saw it, and then they said, "Oh, okay, I see now why this works. Why we're on YouTube or anything along that line." So it took a lot of communication, a lot of trust, but also a willingness to take, okay, that's not the way I would have done it, but let's try it and see. And of course, God has really blessed it, because we decided that as a membership, as a leadership and a membership behind it has worked so well.
About the rebranding, our elders, one time in a meeting we were talking about, like, what verse, what passage in the Bible do we really want to exemplify what we want to do as a church? And so we settled on 2 Corinthians 5, verse 15, and we decided to kind of call that "We're a church not for ourselves." And this rebranding and this tagline really helps our visitors kind of in a small bite know what we're about. And also for our members, it's kind of a recentering. Every time we kind of roll out an initiative or an idea, we get back to this is all because we're trying to be a church not for ourselves. So it's so much more than a slogan on a t-shirt now for us.
Although we have t-shirts.
Yes, we do.
We have a lot of t-shirts that all say the same thing, just look for different things,
So I think what I kind of take away from what you guys just talked about is that you have a very healthy, and I heard this on a podcast recently, a mutual mentoring relationship.
Yes, because we really, because of our experience being in the ministry for 40 years, there's a lot of things that you can only learn by experience. And Tony and Cassandra and all the other, staff, like you were saying, young, if you took Pat and I out, as well as a guy named Joe Stearns, who's on staff, the average age of our staff is like 28 or 29, or it's even that high. But they really respect us, and they ask us for a lot of help and advice. But at the same time, we realize we need to be taught, because we just don't understand some things. But because of that mutuality, that it really, the eldership and leadership helped buy into all this. And I think the church sees that. And so they love Tony. Matter of fact, his joke is that his biggest fan group are all the older single women, in their 60s and 70s, that they all love him, and they're even trying to get involved in this and understand all of this.
That's amazing. Let's continue on. So since moving forward with media as an integral part of Broward's vision and culture, what growth have you seen with the church over the past 2.5 years since Tony and Cassandra started leading?
Okay, well, the first thing that we saw, it was really exciting. We started having a lot of visitors that we had no idea where they came from. And it used to be, we used to bring visitors and we say, oh, this is my friend, this is my, co-worker or whatever. But people would come and we started asking questions and they would say, we Googled you and you were the first church that came up, or we saw you online, or we saw on Instagram, or somebody shared an Instagram. And we started seeing that we had a whole new group of people, so much so that we had reached a point with our church building where we were running out of space. We would even have people at times, sometimes sadly, that families would come and there weren't enough seats all together for them to sit together. So some of them would turn around and leave. So we had so many more visitors that we had to go to 2 services. And the combined, attendance for those 2 services has consistently been more than what we're having even for the 1 service before. And so that was exciting right there. And people were just finding, a lot of them, not everybody, but a lot of people were just finding us online.
So then we realized we have all these new people coming, but how tragic would it be that they come and nobody meets them, nobody connects with them, nobody really reaches out to them. And so we realized that we have to train our church to be hospitable. I mean, we've always been a friendly church, but we really needed to take it up a level. And so we decided that we needed to create, well, first of all, we needed to train our church. So we took some midweeks to talk about this.
We took 4 midweeks and to explain what it means to go from being friendly to loving. And that hospitality is not just meeting people, but it's going beyond. It's going the extra mile to help people with their needs. And so we put some PowerPoints together. We got the group together. We had a lot of back and forth. And it's one of those things that, we realized that even in our culture, it was easy for people to come in and be sitting there and people not meet them.
Right.
And so we had to train our church to look up, and if you don't know somebody, just go meet them. And even if they've been coming to church a long time and you just didn't know them because they were so big, that it was a way to go be at church, not for ourselves.
Yeah, I would just say we did a lot of training through our hospitality team. And we have a rotation, and so we have 60 people who are on the team, 10 on each rotation. But we train them every week about engaging people, moving towards people, and not just being people who grin and hand out newsletters, but really help people get to the next step, help visitors get to the next step. And I would say that we see that changing the church.
Yes.
Because they realize they have to be this way as disciples, not just when they're when they're volunteering, but this is a part of their life. And I would say kind of one of the ways we see this impact, we just recently met this guy, Fernando. He had been searching for a church online, had been going to different churches, finally came to us. And he said to us when we met him, he said, the first time I came, I knew I'd be coming back because of the guy on your Usher team. Like, he reached out to me, he talked to me, he was engaging to me, and he came back. And he was baptized in January, and now he's part of our media team. So it's just awesome. People making a difference in that way.
Not only that, with all these people coming, how to connect with them on a consistent basis. And so our hospitality team and other people, we created a connect card where we asked people if they're willing to give us their contact information, and if there's anything we can do for them, or What are they interested in? Are they interested in learning about the church? Are they interested in becoming a Christian? Where are they on their faith journey? And we've been able to use these contact cards to reconnect with them, and so that they keep coming back. And it all became because they found us online. Discover class?
Yeah, we have a, excuse me, I have a Discover class. One of our elders, Joe Stearns, and our campus minister lead in between the two services, just 40 minutes. And it's a way to get first-time visitors and other visitors engaged in learning about the gospel. And that's really a stepping stone to setting up personal Bible studies, getting people connected groups, or engaging in activities. And even though it's not a great number of people in the classes, they're kind of intimate, but we've seen 16 people who have gone to the class become Christians just since we started last year. So that's another helpful thing that has changed for us.
Yeah, and very quickly, it's affected really the church, the atmosphere and the excitement of the church, even as we plan our sermons and how we're going to, have people be invited so people will come. So it's really changed, what we're preaching about, how we even we have people coming now, we need to teach them the gospel. Let's have a gospel series so people can make decisions that way, and they can hear the gospel preached about how to become a Christian. It's affected our midweeks because so many people are coming that they want to come to a midweek service, that a lot of our members are like, oh, we want to come. And so the last 2 years, we've started the year with how to share your faith and how to study the Bible with people. And our midweek services are almost like worship services. So many people come now, so many people are involved. And so we create a whole series of lessons to make sure people are biblically, literate, and teach them different parts of the Bible, different life stages, as well as how to share their faith and how to study the Bible with people. And it's really great to see how God has used just this whole thing to change every area of our church, and not just have a lot of visitors on Sunday.
That's awesome. Let me ask one last question. We're actually already out of time, but I want to get this in. What has the investment been worth it? Because just from a very this is kind of a B2B experience for a lot of people, right? They want to see kind of behind the curtain, the nuts and bolts. So we know, and we've talked about this on building a media team, and Tuan was talking about that, and Tony talked about that earlier as well, is that it requires investment, and Broward has invested. And so from a pure back office kind of perspective, and obviously God is working in all of these things, but people probably do want to know as well, hey, well, has this direction and has this investment been worth it? And are you going to continue investing in this? And that's, I think, what people want to know.
That for us is a simple yes, because as long as we see people responding, people coming and finding us for the first time, or when we're sharing our faith out and they say, oh, we've been watching you for 6 months, we've been watching Tony for 6 months, realizing that it's getting the message is getting out there, we will continue to invest with it as long as it is the way to reach all these people. We really want to use our money in a way that we know people are hearing the gospel, and so that is no qualifications. Yes, as long as there, something else may come along in the future. We don't know what it is. That's better, but right now it is the way to reach all these people.
Right, that's awesome. Well, you guys, we're out of time. I so sorely apologize. I was a little bit tardy to this, but please feel free to reach out to the Brushes in networking. Chat with them. They're in the comments chatting it up too. So say hi, and I hope you guys get to connect. I'm going to jump into the other session now.
Okay, okay, yeah, we can always, we're open to any questions, and I'll even start.
There we are. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
So if anybody wants to reach out, we're more than willing, or type a question and we can try to answer it. Again, you know, the thing is, we don't have all the answers. We're still learning ourselves. So it's a great opportunity, though, for us to learn and change, and being disciples for over 45 years and feel like we're learning so many new things. Okay, our Discover class. Someone asked about describing the Discover class. The closest thing I could say is, remember the old Bible talks where you would sit down with 5 or 6 visitors, even though you had hopefully a lot of disciples too there, and you would get to know them, and you would really, really have a good little lessons with, it's interactive, to be able to meet their needs. And we call it Discover class, so they can discover what we believe, but also we can discover how to really meet their needs. And Joe, who's an elder, Joe Stearns, and Mike Degree, who leads our campus ministry, we have a real, I guess, agenda or curriculum to make sure they understand about conversion, the church, and what it means to be a disciple. You know, all those are the main ones. And then we use those to connect them for the deeper studies on sin and things like that. And as Pat said, over the last year and a half or so, we've had 16 people we know of that have been baptized from there. Does that help, Sharon? It's offered every week. What we do is we have a 5 or 6 week series. I guess it's a 6-week series between the classes. Like Pat said, these are short. These are only 40 minutes long, because our first worship service is from 9 to 10:15, and then Discover class goes from 10:25 to 11:05, because our second service starts at 11:15. And so we have we do it for 6 weeks, take a couple weeks off. We do it for 6 weeks again, couple weeks off. And on average, well, it's a wide range. Sometimes there's only 3 or 4, and sometimes there's 10. Sometimes they've done it, they have 3 or 4, and sometimes it's been 10. So that's best I can say on an average. But that means people want to come and learn and ask questions and find out what we believe, as well as be taught. Okay, Roger asks, how many people have become Christian who found you first online? You know, we need to go back and do a complete discovery of that number. Because a lot of these people, they like the people in the Discover class were baptized. People who originally came didn't stay to be baptized, but they brought their friends who came to the Discover class and were baptized. So they were sort of, I guess, grandchildren or something, of the online. But we have several instances where people came, they found us online, and then they became Christians. So I can't give you the exact number right now off the top of my head.
I would say that what we have felt, what we were describing as far as the impact with the numbers of visitors, the change in the church, the willingness for people to get into community groups, small groups, and connect with people. I think that's been pretty profound change on the church as well. That's kind of, I guess,
Well,
underpinnings of
our offering has gone up, our special offering has gone up, volunteering, the things that have had, there's so many changes that we can say that has really been created, not just by online presence, but the whole change of atmosphere. And someone asked, what would you recommend for a small church? Start with what you have. It might be just the audio. I know earlier they talked a little bit about, if nothing else, start with audio. Start with what you have. Doesn't have to be what we do. We didn't start off with everything. We started off with, videoing sermons and putting them on YouTube, and or posting them on YouTube and things like that. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just needs to be consistent, whatever you decide to do. So even a small church, you can figure out how to get a little tripod and put iPhone camera or whatever, iPod camera up just to record it. If that's all you can do, great. Don't worry about it. And just pray for that God will provide more resources in the future. But God only asks us to do what we can do, not compare ourselves with what other churches are doing. We've been very fortunate in what we've been able to do, but you just start with what you can do. Any other questions, thoughts? Are you televising your worship service? No, we don't televise them. We live stream them. And it's funny because the way that I'm not the technology guy, so I could be telling you something wrong here. So, but I know at times when we first started that we had it on Facebook Live, and we tried to get it on YouTube. And the way that it was reacting, we had to either sign out of one or the other. So we'd have it on Facebook Live, record it, do some editing, cleaning up a little bit, and then putting it on YouTube. But right now, what we do is it's on Facebook Live, and it's also on our website, live streamed. So if people aren't on Facebook, they can go on our website, browardchurch.org, and go to watch our live stream. And it's again, there's so many people. We're finding people from all around the United States, all around our area, all around the world are watching this. So it's pretty encouraging to see how it's done. But we don't do anything televising. But since I don't know if we've done search engine optimization yet, but since we've got it to the point of where when you Google a church in Broward, we're the #1 church that comes up. That so many people go there, and then they find us because they go to our website, and then they watch our live stream that way. Oh, what are we doing differently during a stay-at-home time that we're going through? Well, we're all Sharon. We're all trying to find that out. But what Tony has done, he went over it today, is that since we can't have groups more than 10 here, they do record the service, the singing, the lesson, and even a prayer for offering, and even some general announcements on Saturday, and then we live stream those on Sunday morning at both services. And what we're discovering, of course, and so many people have already discovered it, like with our encouraging our every week we meet with all our community group leaders by Zoom, and we do that every Friday night. And Tony and Joe Stearns give the announcements, give a lesson, and see how everybody's doing. We've got a survey out there on our website where people can fill in if they have needs. And then we have another volunteer link where people can volunteer to go get groceries or do things. If we try to connect them all up. And then our community groups are starting to meet, of course, video conferencing. So the difference is, and midweek lessons, yeah, even our midweek lessons, the classes that we had going before we found out we couldn't meet together were Acts, Romans, an Old Testament narrative class, and a teen class. Well, we've got them all on Zoom, and people are coming in on Wednesday nights at 7:30 when we met before, and they're being a part of these classes, and it's really great because we had, I'd say, around 200, over 200 members, and of course that a lot of them, they were couples that came on and were a part of these classes, and the teens all got to be together and got to interact. And so it just took some creativity to see things face to face, and people really liked that live classes because they could ask questions, they could respond. We have an online almost like a Facebook called Realm that we could post all the notes, and so people could be almost like they were a part of a class even though we weren't together.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Sharon. You're welcome. We have so many people in all of our churches that are very creative, that are willing to just, they want that face-to-face contact. They want the teaching. And it is for us to try to figure out what works for each one of our groups. I think that people really, 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 appreciate that. Hi, Rodrigo. It's great to see you listening to us. Okay, any other thoughts, questions? Oh, great. Well, okay, and see. We will keep sharing this story. Sometimes I go to different churches and they're like, oh, here comes John and Pat talking about the Broward Church again and all the things they're doing, and so because we feel so encouraged by what we've learned. Mm-hmm. And we feel like we've grown a lot, and that's why when Kayla asked us to talk, we were more than willing, mm-hmm. and even share about what we had to overcome, our own obstacles of understanding this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll keep sharing this story because this is something great God has given us. Well, without any more specific questions, it's great to be a part of you. I got to watch most of today. I'm going to be on again tomorrow, and I hope all of us learn just to start with what we have, let God teach us, and we can grow and not be afraid of it. Not be afraid of it. Just make sure we encourage people to be disciples, and God will really bless what we're doing. God will really bless what we're doing. So if there's anything else, bye everyone. Hope everyone has had a great day, and we'll hopefully see you online tomorrow as we all learn much more.